paintings for which this particular technique has been used also I had included. So it will generate curiosity among the new students. This particular technique has been taken to Mars, that Mars orbiter, that explorer also, this particular technique was included. So in the last slide, I have included this thing because this is a topic. So like some current current things, if you are including in your presentation, it will be means easier for the audience to correlate. Okay. So this I wanted to share in the previous one. So we'll start today's lecture. In the previous class, we have discussed all these things. And also, I was telling about presentation of research work is important, and report writing is also equally important. The presentation part I had covered in the previous class. So today we'll be going to the report writing part. आपको जब भी जाना होगा ना मुझे बोल दीजिए, you can go leave also, no problem. हाँ. और anyway, I'm फिजिक्स स्टूडेंट्स को मैंने फर्स्ट 2 स्लाइड्स भेजा था, आपको मिला है क्या? मिला है ना? ठीक है. मैंने एक ईमेल मुझे आया था, तो इन दैट ईमेल आई हैड सेंड दैट फर्स्ट 2 प्रेजेंटेशन. तो ऐसा है, मैं अदर प्रेजेंटेशन आल्सो आई सेड, आपको यहाँ से एचआरडीडी से भी मिलता है क्या? अदरवाइज आई विल आल्सो सेंड. नहीं मिलता है ना? तो ये इफ यू आर सेंडिंग मी योर ईमेल, आई विल रिप्लाई इन दैट. ओके. Otherwise, you can share among yourselves also. Okay. So today I am covering the art of writing research paper or thesis. So what is a research report? That is the outcome of your work. Research reporting in an oral and written presentation is an important useful aspect. Scientific writing, a thesis of a paper is intended to present clearly the purpose and outcome of a specific research investigation. So whatever you work, I told that it has to be conveyed to the society or the public, general public or the research fraternity. So in the form of some writing, you have to submit. So it can be a journal paper, it can be a conference proceedings also, it can be a thesis finally, or it can be a MPhil thesis also. Before PhD, some few students, they go for MPhil, that's a practice type of things for PhD. So all these things, you have to write a report. So what are the things you should write in that particular report and how to prepare? Briefly, we'll discuss. So what are research papers or articles and PhD thesis dissertation? A research paper is a report published in a journal, magazine or conference proceeding, etc. Whereas the PhD dissertation is a report of the entire work of the researcher to a university or institution for award of degree of philosophy. So journal papers and publications and conference proceedings may be only one part of your thesis, but thesis may contain the whole thing. So it will be a elaborate thing. Okay. So the format of expressing in a journal paper and format of expressing in a thesis will be little different. There you can go on explaining whatever you wanted to convey, but in journal you have to be very precise. Like in oral presentation, if you are getting 8 minutes talk, you cannot elaborate everything. Similarly, in journal publication, if the page restriction is there for 8 pages, you cannot submit 20 pages for that publication. So you have to convey whatever possible things should be conveyed in a very concise manner in that particular page restriction. But in thesis, you can have the liberty to go on explaining all the details, whatever you have done during the full thesis work. Okay. So PhD dissertation is a lengthy, original and unsubstantial document. It should contain original contributions. You should not copy from others. Essentially, a role of PhD dissertation is to demonstrate the research personnel original thinking and contribution to the topic research. So what you have aimed in the beginning and how you have done, what is your research methodology that will come, and what is the output, how it has come, everything you can explain in your research dissertation or thesis. So MPhil dissertation is designed as a practice for PhD thesis. So before the PhD, many students go for MPhil. So there is a preliminary type of, it's a small, it's normally 1 year program. Sometimes it is 2 years also. Normally it is 1 year program. So 1 year work you will be doing and you will be publishing in a similar way and prepare the research, thesis, MPhil thesis. but it will be a small one. For MTech persons also, they write some MTech thesis. For DDFS, I think it is required. Maybe I'm not very sure, but they also do some MPhil thesis in BRC. So I'm not very much aware about the engineering, but they do some this type of 1 year program, I think. So characteristic of a good research report. So a good report results from slow and painstaking and accurate inductive work. First, you have to work properly. Then only you can write the things, na. So your means in an ethical way, you have to work first, and slowly you have to work. If you are very hurriedly working, so certain things you may miss, and that will reflect in the report. So if you are slowly building up the things, so that will also come up in the report writing. So you will understand how the report is forming. To attract a reader, the reading material of a report should be clear and interesting. Like during your presentation should be interesting. Your whatever journal paper or your thesis also should be interesting. Otherwise, the front person will not listen, or the front person will not read it. And our motto that they should, if it is a journal publication, people should read, so that they will cite it in their own work, and some citations will get, and our paper will be well accepted, and in some lacuna will be there, they will also point out. Okay, so our motto is they should read, otherwise there is it's not solving that purpose. So they should be interested first. So it should not be obscure and dull. So if the writing is very dull and it's a monotonous type of things you are writing, so other person may get bored and they may not go to the right part of that particular research output where you are putting your results. So you have to be judgment. You have to make the judgment that how I should proceed while writing that particular report. A paper that is difficult to understand and is not presented in a logical way, relying heavily on results of the other papers, is likely to be like a dry biscuit with little sustaining value and even less taste. So, like if our process is that process of preparation of report is dull, so it will be boring. It will not be digested. That is fine. The basic qualities of a characteristic of a good scientific report, I have listed few of the things. First thing is good presentation. Good presentation doesn't mean that it should be very ornamental. It should be conveying properly. Okay. Good organization of various chapters and sections. So this is also quite important. That's why normally we follow that abstract, introduction, materials and methods, and then the research and the discussion, then the conclusion. So if it is like this, it is easier to move forward. If you are not putting any section, you are just writing like a essay, so they will not understand where is your experimental part, where is your outcome, what is the introduction. Sometimes people I have seen a lot of things because introduction part has to be little less smaller. So what they do, many of the introduction they put their experimental things. Means I have used this particular technique in my experiment, then they will write everything about that particular experimental technique in that experimental. It's not experimental. Experimental is whatever you have done, that should come in the experimental. So if it is like that, while reading the particular output, somebody will get one line only about that work, and these are all everything I know, so why should I read? So that type of things should not be there. And accuracy also, accurately you have to convey that uh, whatever work has been carried out, accurately you have to report, and that should be clarity. And if you have done the work properly and meticulously, you can very clearly present the things and free from some contradiction and confusion. So it may be something like that. This type of things should not come in the particular research output. Otherwise, if you are mentioning that I am preparing something, फिर से chemistry का example देगा. I am preparing methodology to remove arsenic from groundwater, in the abstract we are writing that we have achieved the things, and we are getting a very good material which can be easily removing the arsenic. But in the results part, it is showing that it is not going up to 10 ppb, it is going to only 100 ppb. So your water is still containing 100 ppb. So your objective and your writing in the beginning and your results part is not contradicting. So persons will be get lost, means what to believe, in the first line or in the middle part, or where to means believe. So if some doubt will be coming na, they will just simply, because there are many things are available, they will not refer your thing. So you have to be very clear and free from any contradiction. So contradictory statements try to avoid as much as possible. Okay. Further, a PhD dissertation should be a formal and should be high level of scholarship. It should be a formal way of writing. Very casually, you don't write like WhatsApp messages. We write very short form and uh, very means talkative manner. We write. So that words we should not use in a proper report writing. Okay. So that it should be a little formal. Means not little, properly formal. So outline of a report is, what are the consideration to be kept in mind while preparing a report? First, an outline of the report has to be prepared. So this may be my way of presentation. Somebody may be contradictory, but this is the normal way. Because if you are want to write something, you first prepare that what are the things, like while preparing a presentation, you make an outline that these are the things I want to convey. So in the report also, you have to first write that what are the things I'll be including. So that will be easier way. So so if somebody is very proficient, they can write their own way without the preparing the outline also. But normal persons like me also, it's better to write the outline first, then go for the actual writing. A sketch of what information to be conveyed must be made, must be I made, considering that it is like my perspective. For some other perspective also, it may be little different. Then one can write down various topics, subtopics to be considered, and what materials to be presented in them. The sentences which are to be expanded, reworded, and verified for its validity can be marked. Because while writing, certain things we may first write, then may we feel that it's not conveying the things properly. So we have to modify. And sometimes after modifications also, we feel that we have exaggerated the things. Then we have to little simplify the things. So changes you have to do. Then only it will come to a proper format which will be easily understandable to the audience. So the outline of the report helps us concentrate on what is to be presented, logical relationship between different parts of that particular report. Like it should be, I told that reports should be like presentation should be free flowing. This the reports also should be free flowing from one section to other section to next section. That should be means properly. It should go in a proper manner. That should be disjoint. It should not be disjoint, so that the audience will have a attachment while reading. Okay. So logical relationship also should be there different between the different parts, and smooth flow of the content has to be there, and continuity of the presentation. So it has to be continuity. If you have told that I want to do that in the beginning, so you have to reach to the end. So you have not, if you are not reaching and you are presenting a negative result also, then also that is fine. So this was my motto. I have done like this, in this way I am not reaching, maybe due to something. So that negative results also can be considered as a research output. Okay. So the outline can be discussed with the guide, collaborators, and colleagues and experts in that local area. So based on the comments and the structure of the report can be modified. A three-stage preparation of a report is generally done by researchers. Nowadays, many persons are not doing, but it's normally advisable to have a three-phase preparation of any report. So what is the three phase? A three-stage preparation report is generally done. First is the first draft. It is the rough draft. Means outline and what are the things has to be, everything I should put it in a pair things. So regarding that, some things might have come in the beginning, some things changes. Whatever I feel like putting, I should put it in the first draft. Okay. Second draft is rewriting and polishing of the rough draft. And third draft is the writing the final draft, which has to be submitted to the particular journal or whatever we want to publish. So first draft, I have a little here. So in the stage, researcher can write what has been done in the research study and what are the gap areas. So literature studies, because whenever we are preparing for a report, it should contain the literature study in the introduction part. Okay. So you have done the extensive literature study. So from that literature, everything you cannot include in the introduction. Whatever is essential for that particular work, that only you have to put. So a first draft, you can put that this point, this thing, this was the main gap areas where I have worked. So that part I have to include. And then from this particular another journal, this was the gap areas, and somebody has explained in this manner. That also I have included in my work. So that has to be included. So those parts, gap areas and all, so you have to include it in the first draft. Next is the procedure, methods, theory, whatever you are applied during your work. That also you can include in the second experimental part. So that also you can just jot down in your second part. आजकल टाइप भी करते हैं, पहले हम लिखते थे, पहले तो कंप्यूटर भी नहीं था, मैं जब ज्वाइन किया था मेरे पास कंप्यूटर भी नहीं था, तो हम लोग क्या करते थे, लिखते थे ऐसा हाथ में। तो वो तो जमाना गया, अभी सोचने की जरूरत नहीं है। तो यू जस्ट राइट डाउन इन योर पीसी और लैपटॉप दैट these are the things I want to put it in my experimental section, so I have used। तो क्या होता है कि कुछ छूट ना जाए। तो कभी कभी जल्दी जल्दी में जल्दबाजी में हम कुछ छूट छूट भी सकता है। सो इसमें से क्या होता है कि कभी कभी एक्नोलेजमेंट वगैरह भी हमको देना पड़ता है, तो वो भी याद रह जाता है। Okay, because everybody you may not include as authors. So if somebody has contributed, like in the experimental part, you have included that this part I have taken the help of that person, so that person can be acknowledged in your acknowledgement section. So technical difficulties faced during that particular work, that also you have to highlight during your results and discussion, because if you are not faced any difficulties, then somebody might have done earlier also. There are some difficulties, that's why previous some gap areas were there. So what are the difficulties you have also faced and how you have overcome? Those things also you have to note down. And what are the broad findings? So that will be included in the conclusion part. And what is the concluding remark from that research work you have to. So those things you can include in the first graph. So it will be a little haphazard type of thing, but everything will be included in that first draft. So whatever you feel like it should come in the final draft, everything you put, then you can go on cutting. Okay, that is easier way to do. Else that means sometimes you feel that okay, if I'll include afterwards, so sometimes we leave that, we don't remember at the end. So in the beginning, whatever possible things you feel like it should be included in that particular research output or research publication, so you everything you put in the first draft. So that will be it. Then go on changing that. So tables and charts can be typeset using computer and kept separately in order to avoid rewriting. So if you have tables, and also you can put at the end of the thing that okay, this the tables and references also. In the beginning we don't go on numbering, because numbering gets changed. So you put that these are the things, and while writing there also you can put that this particular references I have taken. So referencing nowadays softwares are also being used. So those things also you can put it in the first draft. So introduction part to be informative, clearly mentioning the gap areas, but not lengthy. So if it is you feel that introduction part is getting lengthy in the first version, then go on cutting, which is the most important things to be conveyed. That only you written, other things you can cut it from that introduction part. Conclusions also should be precise, clear, and objective. Further direction may be pointed out. If during writing at the end of research papers, you normally mention what are the future directions. So like this, whenever you will be following some research paper for your work, my suggestion will be uh, write down the from title is important, keywords are important, abstract is important, and conclusion से पहले जो line रहता है ना 3-4 lines, those are very important. Because at the end of the result and discussion, just before conclusion, people write that what are the things they have not done during that particular work. So if you are following that section, so you will get lot of ideas that these are the areas where, these are the gap areas where a person can work. Okay, so I can do my work from that. So you try to search whenever you are searching for your literature. So that research and discussion last part, you always see that what are the things they have written. Sometimes you will not get, but many of the times the good things will be available there. Okay. So since a research paper is identified by its title, it should be brief and not more than 15 to 20, 10 to 15 words. Because the title, if it is a very linked 3 sentence type of thing, so it will be difficult to read the complete thing. What are the things I should get it? Because only from the title we search, then only we see the abstract. So title is very important. Title should convey the proper meaning of your work. So writing the title is also quite important. You should be careful while that the title should convey the things properly. It should not exaggerate or it should not lower down your work also. Okay. A subject index of a paper is primarily based on the words in the title. From the title only they take the words for the subject index. Therefore, a few keywords which are helpful to classify the paper can be included appropriately in the title. So आप लोग जो keywords use करेंगे ना, so if you are some journals they take the keywords as such, and some journals take the words from your title, from the subject index. So titles should contain those words. Okay. Otherwise, while searching, your paper may not appear. Okay. So how does a reader decide whether to read the content of the paper or not? They have to first is the they read the title. After the title they read the abstract. By reading the abstract, a reader would decide whether the content of the paper is useful or not. Because we first see the title. Sometimes the titles are very short and we do not get the exact means meaning of the work what has been carried out. Then we go for the searching the abstract. So abstract is also very, it should be very informative and it should convey the things properly. Okay. Therefore, the abstract should have positive information about the content of the paper and summary of the work reported in the. Further, if the abstract has the final results and main conclusions of the paper, then the reader who has a general interest in the paper can now know the output of the paper without reading the entire text by referring the abstract itself. So if the conclusion, everything has been briefly mentioned in the abstract itself, the reader will understand that okay, this work they have done and this is the output of the work. So this is fitting for my reference. So they will immediately, they may not have the time to go through the full paper. They will refer your particular paper. So your citation will come. So after the preparation of first draft, normally draft means little makeup we have to put. Okay. So this is the most important and difficult part of writing. Extreme care must be taken in writing this draft. One convenient approach is to edit the first draft, imagining that someone else has written. So you believe that because if you are writing and then you are again changing the things, you will be in the same mood. You will not feel like ये यही तो यही ऐसा ही तो होना चाहिए, हाँ. So you will not feel like. So normally क्या करते थे, सोच माइंड को थोड़ा चैनलाइज करना पड़ता है कि okay that draft is not mine draft, like मेरे जूनियर या मेरे कलीग ने लिख के दिया है, so I have to correct it, okay, like this. And unclear points, Jagran's weakness on the report has to be identified and revised. Overgeneralization of the outcomes should be avoided. If you have introduced any graphics and tables, discuss in the text. So many times I have seen that tables and figures will be there, but it will not be mentioned in the text. So while reading also in the text, it should be somewhere mentioned. Because then from the text only, the table and figure should come. Otherwise, just giving the tables without mentioning in the text is not a good way of presenting. So more importantly, attention must be paid to arguments made, logical flow of work presented, the quality of supporting evidence and conclusions drawn. Do this in each chapter. So if you are going for a thesis, in each chapter you have to do like this. More importantly, grammar must be checked. So nowadays softwares are available. Earlier we used to do by reading and comparing the things, but nowadays softwares are also available. Grammar check you can do very easily. Even normal Microsoft also, while typing, grammar check is there. हाँ, बिल्कुल, मैं आज बताऊंगा थोड़ा सा उसके बारे में. तो हाँ, एआई भी आ गया है वहां पे. एआई भी काउंट करता है, तो इसीलिए पूरी तरह से आजकल नहीं करना चाहिए. तो देखो, मैं आज जैसे मेरा सेकंड क्लास में कुछ कुछ सॉफ्टवेयर्स के बारे में थोड़ा सा मैं बताऊंगा कि व्हाट नॉर्मली रिसर्चर्स यूज्ड, बट यू हैव टू डू दोस थिंग्स एथिकली नाउडेज. अदरवाइज वो एआई कर वर्सन करके वो चेक कर लेते हैं. तो यू हैव ग्रामरली है, एंड नोट है, सो एवरीथिंग इज देयर. यू हैव टू मेक यूज ऑफ दोस थिंग्स जुडिशियसली. सब मिला मिला के थोड़ा सा यूज करना है. पूरी तरह से एक जगह करोगे ना तो आपका वो चेक में आ जाता है. ठीक है। पर क्या है कि ग्रामरली काफी अच्छा भी होता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि बुरा होता है। वो काफी सारा चीजें भी उसमें अच्छा से होता है। बट एंड में होता होना चाहिए ना इंसान। कुछ भी करो एंड में आप हो, आपने काम किया है, आप समझ रहे हो, तो यू हैव टू टेल द राइट द थिंग्स। ग्रामरली में सजेस्ट समथिंग, यू कैन राइट डाउन लिटिल चेंजेस आफ्टरवर्ड्स ना। हाँ। I have not used Grammarly till now because I am not used to those software really means हम थोड़ा oldies है और बीआरसी में हम लोग हैं तो हम लोग थोड़ा मोबाइल वगैरह यूज नहीं करते ना, so we are not that used to those softwares, but मेरे जो juniors है they are using, but एंड में थोड़ा सा चेंजेस करेक्शंस करने से वो ठीक हो जाता। So spell check etc. we have to do. Use some simple words as far as possible. शशि थरूर वाला वर्ड्स को ज्यादा मत यूज कीजिए क्योंकि सब लोग समझ नहीं पाते हैं, है? नहीं, क्योंकि कुछ कुछ लोगों को लगता है कि ना बहुत एकदम इंग्लिश स्ट्रॉन्ग इंग्लिश वर्ड्स यूज करने, नहीं, समटाइम्स दोज वर्ड्स आर हैविंग अ रियल गुड एसेंस, बट अंडरस्टैंडिंग दोज वर्ड्स आर रियली रिक्वायर अ डिक्शनरी. And while reading your abstract or your paper, nobody will refer to another dictionary. So they want to read. Sometimes it's not a novel. मैंने तो मुझे कभी कभी नॉवल पढ़ने के टाइम में साइड में डिक्शनरी रख के पढ़ना पड़ता है, because many things we cannot understand from that. But your research paper reading should be simple. So use as simple words as possible so that it will be easily understandable to the audience, normal audience. Indecisive words such as perhaps, somewhat, rather should be avoided. The uses of some particular words repeatedly, for example, very, extraordinarily, and invariably. So those type of things sometimes people use. So that can also be avoided. Sometimes you can use, not that repeatedly. If you are putting every the three sentence, this particular extraordinary material has been synthesized, we have got extraordinary. Is it like that extraordinary? It must be some ordinary. They will feel like that. So that type of words has to be avoided. Expressions such as it seems, there may be, I told that these things has to be avoided during your oral presentation also. While writing also, these type of words has to be avoided. Okay. Next is the style and presentation and grammar can be improved by asking your friends, colleagues to read and give their critical comments, suggestions, and correct English grammar. If you are not that confident that my English is not good, you can give it to your friend that will unbiasedly tell that these are the things you can improve. Okay. In some universities, the report is first read by an English teacher. He or she will collect the grammar and give suggestions, but not always it happens. So after this, only a researcher can submit the thesis. Complicated and lengthy sentences have to be rewritten and broken. Sometimes one sentence goes up to 6 to 7 lines. So that type of things try to avoid. Make it a shorter sentence. Make it a broken sentence into few parts. Okay. Similar sentence or a sentence conveying the same information what must be eliminated. So you go on writing the same things repeatedly, the front person will get bored. So that has to be also avoided during presentation. It has to be crisp and presentable. The conclusions may carry something more than a repetition of findings indicated elsewhere. So sometimes what people do, they write the abstract and same thing they also repeat in the conclusion. So it will be repetition of abstract. So you are not conveying anything else. So there is no need to write the conclusion. So conclusion will be little different from the abstract. Abstract, that all the things we have means conveying in from the beginning, means so what is the objective to conclusion, everything will be there. But in the conclusion means whatever you have achieved during a particular year, achieved or not achieved during the particular work, that has to be your conclusion. All conclusions should be directly related to the research. Perhaps the conclusion could reveal a special insight of yours, throwing up a possibility of findings being applied to a different situation or different discipline. Proper reference of the related work should be included. Whenever you are putting any publication, referencing means you have to refer to other person's work. So referencing is very much important. So trivial matters and obvious conclusions should not be included. And if there is some sentence that they should be dropped. So in the first draft, you might have included certain things, in the second draft when preparing, you may drop those things if you feel like those are very trivial, may not giving much light to my research work. So those things you have to drop during the second draft preparation. And last part is the third draft preparation. This is the last stage. In this stage, one can concentrate on final touches, like मेकअप होने के बाद जस्ट मूर्ति जब बनाते हैं हम, गणपति अभी अभी गया है, दुर्गा पूजा गया है, सो दे आर लास्ट में क्या करते हैं, आंखों को पेंट करते हैं, ऐसा देखा होगा ना कभी? तो दिस इज लाइक द थर्ड ड्राफ्ट इज लाइक आंखों को पेंट करना. So it will give the final touch to your research work. So in this last, this is the one can consider the final touches. This should be in the direction of making the report weighty, authoritative, attractive, and convincing. Formatting to be made as per the where work is getting published, because every journal or every the format may be little different. So sometimes they tell that experimental has to be like this much, and sometimes some journals tell that experimental can be written only in few less lines. Like recently we have sent for a publication, there they don't want much things to be written in the experimental section. They told that you can put as a supplementary item. So depending upon your journal requirement, in the final draft you can modify that what are the things has to be conveyed as per that particular journal where I wanted to publish. Okay, if it is a thesis, you can include all the things, but in if you are putting for a journal publication, you have to see that how you have to. But even in the thesis also, every university may be having their own format. So for their format, you have to prepare. Okay. So similar words format should be avoided in successive sentence. Make sure the script clearly stores the originality of the author and importance of the outcome of the particular study. In all these stages, report preparation, one should follow a proper style of writing. Use clear and unadorned English appropriate for the readers. One has to be aware of whom the research report is intended. I mean, your research work, who should read? That you have to keep it in mind. If you are putting a research output for a MSc student and research for a research fraternity, it has to be little different. Okay, if you are preparing something for a junior college students, so some research, and I'm not doing research output during PhD, but research, some work you have to present in their syllabus or something like that. That has to be little different. Okay, that you have to keep it in mind. It is better to avoid use of personal pronoun like I, the author. Like many times we have seen that authors have discussed these things as people write, and we have concluded that this is the things. So we need not write this is the conclusion. In that way, we can write I, we, those things. Normally, it is avoidable in the research output. So both an active and passive voice is okay during a research paper writing whenever possible and appropriate. However, when using them, one should check whether the meaning is strictly correct. So wherever, if the work has been carried out before and I am writing now, then we can use the past tense. And if you are comparing the data with certain earlier work, there you can use the present tense. Now we are comparing the data with this particular person's work, and we are finding this like this. We will not write. The findings are this like this. Okay, so like this you can compare. Huh. No need, no need. If you are done in the previous work, give your reference. You need not write that in from our lab we have reported, because many of the times anonymous journal review happens. So there it should not be conveyed by any chance that it has been done from your lab. So आपका थीसिस वगैरह में कर सकते हो, बट नॉर्मल जर्नल पेपर के लिए प्रिफरेबल है कि you don't write that in our lab we have reported like this. This has been reported and give the reference and your name will come. लैब का नाम नहीं, पूरा वो जर्नल का नाम जब आ जाएगा आपका नाम दिख ही जाएगा. हाँ. अगर आपने पहले कर चुके हैं और पब्लिश कर चुके हैं, अगर आपने पहले पब्लिश कर चुके हैं हाँ हाँ try to avoid that in our lab we are doing. Hmm. Hmm. बिल्कुल. This has been, if you are writing that in previous work, this has been reported like this, and you are giving your name, it will be easily understandable that it is your work only. No need to emphasize that it is your work, because some researcher have a tendency that from my lab we have reported like this. हम भी कभी कभी करते हैं ताकि हमको भी लगता है कि थोड़ा सा हमारा भी नाम आना चाहिए, ताकि ऐसा होता है. So but try to avoid that. This is not the means very good way of presenting. You can write that this work has been reported on this basis, previous on the basis of previous work. Then you give the reference, and a reference will be your name only. Okay, so that way you can include. Okay. Care must be taken using present and past tense, that I have already told. Since the research article to be read by experts in the field, avoid expressions such that, in other words, to put it in a simpler way, this type of words also try to avoid, because the experts in the field may not like this type of phrases. So be means little cautious that your research paper will be read by whom. Research, it will be researched by some research students, research fraternity, as well as some experts. So it should be easily conveyable, and it should not hurt the feeling of the persons. So between various stages, it is advisable to give gap of few days. Like in the first stage, second stage, third stage, if you are preparing the report, in between, give a weekend. A weekend gap or 2 days gap at least, so that you will not be get biased from the previous whatever you have written. You as a fresh person, you should read that previous draft. Then it will be more modification you can do. So how do you ensure that your paper will be well received by the readers? Some of the suggestions I have mentioned here. Before sending to a journal, authors can ask their colleagues and friends working in that same field to read and comment. So normally we share it with our colleagues. The paper can be given to colleague who is not familiar with the subject, because if you are now your physics, bio, and chemistry, all students are there, na. If you are writing a bio paper, give it to a physics colleague. So they will not understand that the topic maybe, but they will understand the flow. Okay, so like this, you share with some on whom we can believe. ऐसा आपने किसी को दे दिया और उसने आपके नाम पे छाप दिया, so that will also be not good. If have a belief on somebody, give it to some other person who is not exactly from your field, so you will get a good means output. The don't feel offended if the colleague suggests drastic changes. If the person is telling that no, I am not following anything, it's totally going beyond for a normal person, then they can rethink that there may be something wrong. Okay. Think back to couple of papers which have made an impression on you and are still long remembered. During your course of scientific time, you may be come across some papers जो आपको बहुत याद रह जाता है, क्योंकि मैंने ये पेपर पढ़ा था, बहुत अच्छा से उन्होंने कन्वे किया था. So that type of formatting you can have in your own way, and note down and analyze the style and presentation and other features that have impressed you. So you can modify on that manner also. हाँ, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल करता है. अगर आप बोलोगे कि मैं 500 पेजेस का थीसिस बनाऊंगा, nobody will accept it. So thesis has to be little precise. Like it should not be 100-page thesis, it should not be 600-page thesis. Some people, some universities, they go for a very lengthy thesis also, but normally in HBNI I have felt that normally 200 to 300 pages, 350 pages maximum is the thesis volume. Normally in chemistry, I don't know about biology, but in chemistry I have seen that it is normally for engineering also. I am a committee member in engineering also, engineering 3 committee. There are also that 350 pages we put it as a maximum number of pages. Otherwise what will happen that the reviewer who will undergo your who will scrutinize your thesis, that person will get a lot of boring experiences. Hmm. Research papers, every journal is having their own restrictions. because some papers nowadays they have only 8 pages, because recently our paper we have sent it is only having 8 pages. So but the second draft I was telling na, so our draft whatever we have prepared, it was having 25 pages. So 25 pages, then uh, we zero down to a journal. We felt that our work is very much suitable that for when while going through the author's instruction, they have written that 8 pages you have to submit. So 25 pages to 8 pages, it is like drastic changes. But only good thing was there, they have mentioned that experimental section has to be in the supplementary things. So that full part we have removed. So it has come to nearly 16 pages. 16 pages. So 16 pages to 8 pages also, it was a drastic change. Many figures we have to omit, but we have managed that like that. So supplementary pages also you cannot put to 20 pages. There also some restrictions are there. So only whatever is essential, that put it in a supplementary page, but many things you can put it in a supplementary page, but 25 pages to bringing it down to 8 pages, it's really tough job. Okay. Huh. Yeah, sure. So I'll continue and I'll send that presentation. You go through. If you are having some difficulties, you will share. हाँ. मेरा हर दिन का पहला स्लाइड में भी रहता है, कल्लोला, KALLOLA, KALLOLA इज माई ईमेल आईडी. ठीक है, अदर्स विल कंटिन्यू ना. ठीक है, एक जन भी होता है तो मैं क्लास लेने के लिए तैयार रहता हूँ, क्योंकि कभी कभी बीएससी में मैं एक स्टूडेंट होता था. हमारे क्लास में ज्यादा बीएससी फर्स्ट ईयर में बहुत सारा वो इंजीनियरिंग मेडिकल के लिए स्टूडेंट्स यूज टू प्रिपेयर, एंड आई वाज इंटरेस्टेड इन केमिस्ट्री ओनली. सो मैं अकेला क्लास भी किया है. सो मेरे लिए भी अगर एक क्लास समबडी इज इंटरेस्टेड, नो ऐसा नहीं करेंगे, बट आप लोग फिजिक्स और केमिस्ट्री मिला के हो. बायो स्टूडेंट्स आर गोइंग ना, नॉट ऑल. ओके ओके. Okay, we'll just continue. Huh? So I have put the short layout of a research report or PhD thesis. It should have the preliminary pages and the main text and the end part of that particular work output. So the preliminary pages will include the title page of the report. Sometimes in journal publication also we have to give a different front page. In thesis, definitely few preliminary pages has to be there. So main text and also preliminary pages also will include the acknowledgement part, certificate page, because in the thesis you have to include many certificates. So your guide has to be signed somewhere and your committee has to sign somewhere. So like this, all these preliminary pages has to be included in your PhD thesis. Certificate page, list of publications, table of contents, so all those things has to be included. Acknowledgements are written to thank those who have contributed during your research work. And also acknowledgement should be brief and simple. Sometimes people write 3 pages acknowledgement, that much is not required. Whatever is you really feel like thanking, that only you include in your acknowledgement. Sometimes it's okay to include 2 pages or 3 pages, but normally put it in a single page things, it will easier to see. Huh? And declaration of the in the certificate page by the scholar, those things has to be included in the preliminary page. Every research report should have a abstract, like every journal paper has to be a abstract. Your thesis also will have a abstract that will be known as synopsis, means small brief presentation of the whole work. So abstract is included everywhere. So it is necessary part of any scientific and non-scientific research report. In a research article, it appears next to the author's name and affiliation. In the research publication, you have seen that first that title and authors will be there, then the abstract used to be there. In your thesis, it is the preliminary pages will be there, then the synopsis part will be there. Pardon? Synopsis can normally 10 to 12 pages. Yeah. In thesis you have to add before because in the preliminary section only you have to write down the means publications arising from the particular research work. That has to be included, because people will see in the beginning that what has been output from your research work, and they will go for the details of your research work. Okay. So in case of PhD thesis, before its submission, an elaborated abstract of the thesis called synopsis has to be submitted. Actual thesis submission. So for PhD students, a synopsis submission is important. So there it will be scrutinized to see that whether it is a publishable thing. So sorry, that it is to be go for a thesis or not. So procedures adopted in work and results of the study to be presented in a very condensed matter form. The abstract can act as a tool to control the flow of the ideas. So the abstract also should have the similar flow, whatever flow you want to have in your journal publication or the research publications. So like if you are putting a thesis, your synopsis should have the same flow like your full thesis. Okay, that's why in the beginning you submit the thesis, and the thesis has to go to the experts, and they should agree that on the basis of their agreement, the full thesis will be sent. So that's why synopsis submission happens normally 3 months before the actual submission of the thesis. So what were the outcomes of your work and what is the significance of the result? All these things has to be read. The abstract of a PhD thesis will be the about 3-4 pages I have written here, but it's not like that. Synopsis normally is to 8 to 12 pages, and that will contain all the chapters also. Okay. Tables of contents give the title of the chapter, sections, headings, title of the appendices, etc. The main text will contain details of the research work and the result. This part of the thesis should provide the following, like introduction, actual research work performed, and the summary and conclusions. So this is the introduction part. You have to write down all the related literature survey in that particular. What are the techniques you are utilizing? If you are going for a thesis type of report writing, for journal paper writing, introduction has to be little brief. For your thesis writing, everything you have to include, whatever techniques you are using. So those things, little explanation has to be there in the beginning of the chapter. That is the introduction part. The irrelevant and less informative materials need not be presented. So introductory chapters should prepare in a such way that it should be interest to the reader. To be precise, introductory part should cover features of that particular topic, like what objective, what is there, and why you have gone for that particular thing, present status of that particular work, some unsolved problems, that is the gap areas you have to mention in the introduction, statement of problem undertaken. So on what you are going to work in that particular work, that has to be included in the introduction part. Importance and justification of the present problem, and also preview the schemes of the following chapters, and interrelation definition and some scientific terms, whatever is used, those things also to be included in the introductory chapter. And whatever methodology you're adopting during your research also, that can be a part of your research research thesis introduction. Okay. So actual research work will come in the next part of your work. This is the heart of the research report or hypothesis, the thesis. The actual research work undertaken, difficulties faced, technical details, some results and conclusions, those things, future direction also can be included in this particular section. Okay. So for preparing PhD thesis report, one should not simply copy a word from that whatever because during your thesis writing, you might have already published the same things in your journals. Afterwards, you will compile the things as a thesis output. Don't just copy paste from the journal paper and put everything together in a thesis writing, because thesis is a bigger thing and your journal paper publication will be a smaller thing. So you have to elaborate those things in a simpler way. So whatever you have published, those things will be part of your thesis, but little explanation will be required in every stage. Like introduction will have little more explanation. Your research methodologies and research outputs also has to be elaborated. Certain figures and that block diagram, histograms, those you might not have used during your journal paper writing, but those things you can include during your research thesis writing. Okay. So thesis will be a bigger size, so you need more volume work. So you feel like something that little trivial, which may not be suitable for the journal, but that part you can include in your research thesis writing, so that whoever is going to the full thesis, they will understand that you have done the all the means part of the experiments. Okay, in journal paper that may not reflect, but your research thesis output, it should be reflecting. ठीक है हाँ बिल्कुल 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 करते हैं क्योंकि योर रिसर्च पेपर्स टेबल्स यू हैव टू इंक्लूड इन योर thesis, that is allowed. That will not be plagiarism. Okay, because from the thesis work only these papers are getting generated, so this is part of this is allowed. So all figures should be clearly specified in the variable axis and the units used. Other necessary information also has to be there. Figure captions should not be a reproduction of the sentence in the text. Sometimes people write down the text and from that they just copy the full sentence. It's not like that. It should be a little precise one, the caption. The data should be fitted in an appropriate method using mathematical expressions. A set of data measurement without any analysis and discussion is of no use. So statistical analysis you have to carry it out during your agent. So those things can be included in your main text of the thesis report writing. Arguments may be conveniently present in a series of numbered bullet points rather than one chunk of crowded paragraph. In whatever you are discussing, you can put it in some bulleted form also. That is also allowed during your research paper writing, that research thesis writing. In journal, you may not have it that much of space to put everything in a bulleted manner. Bulleted manner, if you are putting, the space will get lost. So normally during journal paper writing, we write down the text, but in your research paper, you can put many things as a bulleted form. And also mention further unexplored areas which further researcher may take up. So, and extreme care must be taken in typesetting mathematical equations variables, because during that mathematical equation sometimes some words gets jumbled up, so you have to take care of those things. And also italic Greek letters, sometimes those have to be a little careful, like use of small x, capital X, those things also. For multiplication many people use small x, and sometimes use capital X, sometimes use star, because in equations we while computing we use star. कंप्यूटर में स्टार करके करते हैं ना मल्टीप्लिकेशन के लिए, बट यू शुड नॉट राइट स्टार इन बिटवीन ए स्टार बी, वी शुड नॉट राइट ए क्रॉस बी, यू हैव टू राइट ना. So normally we write x or that multiplication symbol, so that is important. So those things, little small things, but you have to keep it in mind. All equations should be centered and numbered. It should be easily visible, and the jokes and puns should not be part of any report, like bad, terrible, stupid, those type of words you have to avoid during research report writing. An error often made in wasting valuable time for physical embellishment of the document beyond a point without paying careful attention to the correctness of the accuracy of the content. Even a couple of typos can give the impression that you have failed to pay attention. So whenever we submit to any journal, sometimes some simple mistakes also editors reject the things. So you have to, आजकल टाइपोज होता नहीं है ज़्यादा क्योंकि माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में ही हमारा करेक्शंस हो जाता है, बट you have to be little careful that some simple typos should not be there, because if it is there, the editor will reject. It will not go for the actual review also. So you have to be little careful while sending the papers. So you have to keep those things in mind. And the conclusions at the end of the chapter, we have to put the conclusion. So that should be clear and precise. It should convey the proper meaning of the outcome of that particular research work. Mention possible future research also in that particular also. And appendices and supplementary content which are not placed in the main report in order to keep the continuity of the discussion. However, they are relevant for understanding the particular part. The appendix can be present in a brief summary like that, and a lengthy mathematical derivation, if it is there included, that can also be part of the appendices. Technical details, if you want to get those things, you can put it in a appendix also. So like this, at the end of the particular research output, you can put some appendices also, or supplementary items. And next one is the reference or bibliography. So that I will be covering in the next class. थोड़ा सा 5 मिनट गैप, उसके बाद नहीं तो अगर आप बोलोगे तो कंटिन्यू करेंगे, नहीं तो 5 मिनट गैप करके करेंगे। उस नेक्स्ट पार्ट में मुझे बहुत ज्यादा नहीं बोलना है, थोड़ा सा सॉफ्टवेयर के बारे में बताना है, उसके बाद खत्म। कंटिन्यूटी करें? ओके, विल कंटिन्यू। ठीक है ना सबको? हाँ। So during any of your research writing and report writing, lot of you will be citing other works. So I told that if you are following somebody else's work, you have to give a citation or reference or bibliography you have to include. So these references and bibliographies are sources which have been consulted during your research work. Each reference should contain the name of the authors, title of the paper, journal name, volume name, issue, and which is the starting page also. Sometimes they include the end page also, like this. For each journal or each particular thesis output, there that format may be different. Okay, so you have to format as per the requirement. Okay, so what are this reference and bibliography we use a similar way, but they are having little difference. So somebody knows what is the difference between this reference and bibliography? Tell. Okay. हाँ, 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 ओके। और कुछ? कभी-कभी हम रेफरेंस में भी वेबसाइट्स वगैरह देते हैं, पर एक्चुअली क्या होता है कि आई जस्ट टेल यू, so both reference and bibliography provide information about the source used in that particular document. They contribute to the maintaining the academic integrity and avoid plagiarism. So you have taken from somebody, so you are giving credit to those persons, so it is not a plagiarized. Both reference and bibliography include bibliographic details about the sources. They allow the readers to access and verify the cited. So if you are giving the details, anybody can cross check that thing. So both reference and bibliography demonstrate the depth of the research concluded. So they play a crucial role in giving credit to original authors and acknowledging their works. Both reference and bibliography can be formatted in various citation styles. So these are similarity. They are essential components also. They're like this is normal. Both reference and bibliography enhance the overall credibility of the work, and they facilitate further exploration and study of the cited references. These are the similarities between these. So differences I have mentioned here. क्या हो गया? So reference is scope restricted to the source directly cited in the text, but the bibliography scope includes all sources consulted during the research, even if it is not directly cited in the text. Okay, so during your research output, if you are citing the thing, that will come as a reference. But if you have consulted something, but you are not directly citing in your text, that can come in the bibliography. So bibliography is a larger version, and the references will be a little smaller version. ठीक है? तो व्हाट अगर आप रिसर्च आउटपुट में जो को ऐसा 1-2 दे के लिखते हैं ना, आपका जो राइटिंग के टाइम जिसको आप रेफर करते हैं, दोज थिंग्स विल बी रेफरेंसेस। पर इसको छोड़ के भी देयर मे बी सर्टन थिंग्स लाइक समबडीज डायरी यू माइट हैव यूटिलाइज्ड, and somebody's ideas might have analyzed. It has been somebody some newspaper you have utilized. So it has, you are not citing inside your paper, but you have got some ideas. So those things, everything you can include in a bibliography. So that is small difference between these two. So both purpose are similar, provide evidence for claims made in writing and allows reader to verify the source. Here the provides a broader overview of the research material used and may offer reader additional sources of further exploration. So bibliography will give additional informations. Okay, so put his बोलिए। हाँ हाँ हाँ, साइट साइट करने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि आपका मेंशन करने नहीं हाँ आप लाइब्रेरी से बुक हो सकता है या फिर कोई न्यूज़पेपर हो सकता है, उसका डेट के हिसाब से उसको मेंशन कर सकते हैं। तो फॉर्मेट हाँ 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 एवरी यस 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 बिब्लियो बिकॉज आप अगर एंड नोट टाइप का आजकल और एक भी एंड नोट जैसा और एक जोरेटो क्या जोटेरो ना हाँ जोटेरो सॉरी जोटेरो भी पीपल आर यूजिंग सो उसमें भी आप डाल देंगे ना तो इट विल गिव इन अ पर्पट फॉर्मेट आल्सो so there because Zotero and EndNote they give the bibliography, they don't write on the top that it is a reference, they consider as a bibliography, so means all the possible areas you are covering in that. Okay, so but from that selected things you can put as a reference, but in research mostly during your research thesis you might not have everything you have not mentioned during your referencing, means citing you might not have done, but you have got the ideas or some things from the certain thing which you have not included in your directly in your text, but you feel like putting in a that you have you are more means authentically telling that I have got this idea from these things, so those things you can include in the bibliography. Okay, so that's why bibliography in the end I have written a broader overview of the research material used and may offer the readers additional resources for further explorations. Okay. So now I'll be telling certain softwares which researchers normally used during research works. So these digital tools for researchers can help simplify, accelerate, and optimize various stages of research journey. So many, most of us use various softwares for our work. But today, with a long list of research tools available online, it is only natural for busy researchers to be baffled when it comes to making the right choice for specific needs. Because for everything nowadays, a lot of things are available, and a lot of scams are also being happening, and a lot of spurious softwares also being means produced in the market. So you have to choose the right software for your application. It should not hamper your research output unnecessarily. Huh. So these two tools will streamline your research process, help you organize, provide you with easy access to the information you need. From reference management software to digital libraries, these cutting edge tools cater to the needs of both experienced and also novice researchers both. So whether you are working in a major research project or just starting out, this all these softwares are quite useful, and we all use various softwares during our research work. So types of softwares whatever we use, I have just mentioned few of the things. Some academic writing first that yeah, tools like अभी just एंड नोट बोला, मुझे लग रहा है कि देखना चाहिए एक आध बार की क्योंकि कि Zotero का एडवांटेज है जो retracted softwares they mentioned it properly. In this EndNote, I think it is not properly mentioned uh, because nowadays I told na a lot of scams are happening and lot of spurious journals they are publishing papers and after certain time they are retracting papers. This because today I was going through the Zotero things. What are the advantage of Zotero? So they have mentioned that this retracted papers information will be available in Zotero. So if you are putting the certain things which in your bibliography or reference which has been retracted, that you can get it the information from the Zotero software. Okay, so that type of, because you should not put a reference which is had already been retracted. Okay, it is not available right now maybe because thesis collection, the thesis writing will happen at the end of your project. Literature survey will be the starting of your project. So within that 2-3 years many papers might have gone to the retraction things if we have not properly followed in the beginning that right choice of the journals and all. So I came across that the Zotero software they tell about the retracted papers also. Okay, so like this, reference management tools are available, data analysis tools, various softwares are available, graphics related things are available, project management tools are also available, academic search engines are available, and journal selection tools are available. I told that many of the things are also which journal to choose and which are the authentic journals. So there are softwares are available, that sites are available by which you can. I have not written down everything in my lecture, but you can think in that direction. So few of the tools I have just mentioned. First is the Grammarly. This is the American English Language Writing Assistant software tool. So you can use it for modifying your text, sometimes typographical or grammatical mistakes or plagiarized words. Those things you can avoid by using Grammarly software. So it has some pros and cons, like reliable spell checking and grammar checking you can have very easily. Highly customized correction levels you can achieve, but cons are there: questionable writing suggestions. They many times suggest certain things which are not that much acceptable. So, and also AI probe generator tracks human like quality. So this is nowadays the thing. So you have to take it into account. And first you can use this software to check the things, then you modify on your own language also. That is also possible. Little more time it will be taking, but because if you are using a software, the time will be shortened, and afterwards we have spent some time more. Okay, so that way you can manage your things. And this is the EndNote particular software, is a 25 to 2025 version. It is a commercial reference management software and package, and from Wikipedia I have just taken this particular one. So there are several ways to add a reference, because whenever you are having a thesis, will contain many chapters, and many chapters will many reference will be there. So at the end of the thing, it will be very voluminous work, and formatting everything in a proper format, it will be very time consuming. So if you are using a software like Zoreto or this EndNote or this type of software, so you can very quickly put all the things in a single format. Like you are publishing in a particular journal. Nowadays this uh, refusal rate has been increased. Many of the times your paper gets rejected. अभी मेरा पेपर एक 5 जगह पे रिजेक्ट हो गया था, तो फाइनली वो पब्लिश हुआ, बट 5 जगह पे जब रिजेक्ट होता है, एवरी टाइम वी हैव टू पुट दैट रेफरेंस इन दैट फॉर्मेट. So we have to change that format. So changing nearly 50 references into particular format, it takes lot of time. Okay, and sometimes they restrict the pages. So in between, some reference will be missing. So some numbers also will be changed, and every that format has to be changed. So a lot of the time it takes. So nowadays using these softwares, we can very easily do the referencing or bibliography management in a very short time. This EndNote program presents the user with a window containing drop-down menu, from which we have to select the different types of references they require for a book, and also farm newspaper, etc. All the things are available there. Fields ranging from general to specific kind of references are also available there. Most bibliographic database allow users to export reference to their EndNote libraries. This enables the user to select multiple citations and save the user the having the manually, because many places we sometimes refer the same reference, so it will not go on adding to the reference. So this EndNote takes care of those things also. And if the user fills out the necessary field, EndNote can automatically format the citation into any over 2000 different styles of the whatever you choose. So you have to select that particular journal's format. EndNote will convert all the things to the particular format. So it is easier to change it. Sometimes they think that the journal will be in bold italic, and your year will be in the beginning with a bold letter, and some journals will tell that the volume will be in like this. Every journal has their own requirement, so you can easily convert the formatting to using this type of softwares. Okay. So EndNote offers researchers save time, stay organized, easily collaborate, and also get published. Quickly identify the best fit journals for your manuscript, with manuscript matcher also available in this. So you can choose the journal also from this. So this Origin, Microsoft Origin, we commonly use for preparing various figures and for this structure, the graphical figures. So this is a graphical and data analysis software. So this Origin is a proprietary computer program, interactive scientific program for graphing as well as data analysis. It is having runs on Microsoft Windows and inspired by various platforms I've just mentioned. So 2D and 3D plots you can very easily make using this particular Origin software. You all might have used in some of part of your work during MSc or preliminary research areas if you have worked, है ना? Origin सबने यूज किया है? नहीं किया है? कोई बात नहीं. हाँ, तो ओरिजिन हम लोग ना जो प्लॉट्स करते हैं तो बहुत सारे, मैं पहले सब एक्सेल में ही करता था. माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एक्सेल आप यूज करते हैं ना? एक्सेल तो यूज किया रहेगा ना? हाँ, तो एक्सेल में we can have pie chart, you can have XY diagrams, those things you can very easily get, but 3D type of the diagram and putting the error bar, those things are not available in Microsoft Excel, but those things are very can be easily done using a Origin software. So Origin nowadays very commonly used by the researchers. फ्री होता है कि नहीं, परचेज भी करना पड़ता है, कभी कभी इंस्टीट्यूशनल जो सॉफ्टवेयर अवेलेबल रहता है. तो एंड में बोलूंगा कि ये सारे जो सॉफ्टवेयर होता है, बहुत सारा सॉफ्टवेयर को खरीदना पड़ता है. आप ऑथेंटिक सॉफ्टवेयर यूज करो, खरीद के यूज करो. हाँ, लास्ट स्लाइड मेरा है जस्ट. हाँ. This Origin Lab 2021 version, so lot of varieties of figures and 2D 3D figures we can generate using these things, which will be very useful during our research work. Like in organic chemistry and biological, this ChemDraw is a very common tool. So making structures, like if you are having a alkylate, torpinide or a protein type of structure, if you are going preparing the structure manually or some tool, it is almost impossible to prepare. But using a ChemDraw, you can very easily prepare this components. You can just go on adding and you can prepare the full structure. Even 3D structure with animation also you can add those things to. So this type of ChemDraw software you can use for those research. So this type of tools are available, from where we have to take down whatever, if it is a benzene ring is required, like a pyridine ring, whatever is required, can take those prints and come with that side chains you can add, go on adding to have the 2D or 3D structures. So graphic editors are also available. CorelDRAW is one of the common research tool which you use in a very researchers. Like if it is a 3D arrangements we have to make, it is more means required in civil mechanical engineering type of drawing. So for science things, this may not be that much useful, but for engineering drawing type of things, it is quite useful. So 3D arrangements you can very easily do using CorelDRAW. Okay, so this type of structure softwares are also available. LabVIEW is a virtual instrument engineering workbench. So this is used for data acquisition as well as instrument control. So like this, many softwares are there, and we use and we have to use in during our research work. So my last request is ethical use of software has to be there. So software enables us to accomplish many different tasks with computers. Unfortunately, in order to get our work done quickly and conveniently, some people make use of unauthorized and copied softwares. हम लोग करते ही हैं बहुत ज़्यादा जगह पे. मैं जो कोई भी सॉफ्टवेयर यूज करके हम कर लेते हैं, बट guidelines are available to provide brief outline of what you legally can and cannot by using this particular softwares. So first one is unauthorized copying of software is illegal. You cannot copy this software. There are certain softwares which are publicly open also, but there are certain softwares which are prohibited for copying. So you should not, like Origin, Microsoft, that Origin we have to use the authentic Origin software. The unauthorized copying of software by individual can harm the entire academic community. If unauthorized copying is proliferate on a campus, the institution may incur a legal liability. Also, the institution may find it more difficult to negotiate agreements with what makes the software. So, if software is produced by some company and they have found that BRC is using those copied software, they can target, they can blacklist this particular organization or itself also. So if you are working in the particular university, they can blacklist your university also. Just for the sake of your little hurriedness, your institution will be blacklisted. So try to use always the proper softwares. Sometimes So you can collaborate with some persons who are having the authentic softwares that you use. So unauthorized copying and use of software deprives publishers and developers of a fair return of their work, because for developing these software companies put lot of effort, that money wise and the time wise, person brain wise, everything they use. So they should also get their return. So if you are copying, it will be copied to everybody, so everybody will have that, so they will not get the proper return. So it will be unethical for that. हाँ, नहीं उस ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगा। आपका जब पब्लिश हो जाएगा, वो फिगर आपको कैसे आएगा, जब क्वेश्चन आएगा, तो आपको तो उसका आंसर देना पड़ेगा ना। तो वही तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, फ्रेंड का यूज़ करो, फ्रेंड का जो सही है, उसको यूज़ करो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। आप बोलने से आपको डॉक्यूमेंट मैंने बोला ना आपको, व्हेनेवर योर पब्लिकेशन विल बी देयर, आफ्टर योर पब्लिकेशन क्वेश्चनिंग इज पॉसिबल। अगर आपने बीआरसी में ज्वाइन कर लिया और आपने फ्रेंड का यूज कर लिया, बोल दिया, डायरेक्टर बोलेंगे कि शो मी हु व्हिच फ्रेंड्स डेटाबेस यू हैव यूज्ड, so you have to justify in that na. I told that during conversation with if some complaints is there, you have to cooperate with the authority. तो वहां पे तो आपको बताना ही पड़ेगा ना आपने क्या क्या यूज किया है। तो इसलिए कहीं पकड़ा नहीं जाता है, पर पकड़ा अगर कोई आपके पीछे पड़ गया तो आपको सही चीज तो बोलना ही पड़ेगा, नौकरी भी जा सकता है। तो बी केयरफुल। ठीक है, तो फिर हम सॉफ्टवेयर क्यों डेवलप करेंगे? Yeah, you have to cite also, and also because if because copying is rampant now, everybody is copying, everybody is using softwares, but as a ethical person, uh, it is my duty to convey that use of proper software. Afterwards it is up to the researcher. Okay. Data leak का, data leak का chances are there, yes, because you do not know what exactly, because if we are doing it online, it can be leaked anytime, that is always there. So that's why try to use at most cases the authentic softwares, buy it or use it who is having the authentic softwares. Okay. हाँ हम्म, हाँ हाँ, यस यस, हाँ हाँ, बिल्कुल जा रहा है, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल। इसीलिए आप जब कभी-कभी होता है हम इवन पीडीएफ कन्वर्टर, पीडीएफ क कनेक्टर यूज़ करते हैं। तो दैट टाइम आल्सो वी आर गिविंग, सो हम लोग क्या करते हैं, बीच में से थोड़ा-सा पोर्शन छोड़ के हम उसको अपलोड करते हैं। पूरा जो पेपर है, पूरा एक साथ हम लोग प्लेजरिज्म चेक करने के लिए बहुत बार करते हैं, खुद से ही सॉफ्टवेयर यूज़ करते हैं ना। गूगल में जाके प्लेजराइज़ सॉफ्टवेयर में पूरा-पूरा अपना पेपर को छाप देते हैं, वहाँ से कॉपी पेस्ट कर लेते हैं। बेटर टू नॉट टू डू दैट। आपने क्या कीजिए, फर्स्ट पार्ट कुछ तो उसको कॉपी कीजिए, उसका आउटपुट लीजिए, उसके बाद पीछे वाला पार्ट को लीजिए, कीजिए, एकदम डायरेक्टली पूरा पूरा मत कीजिए। तो पार्ट्स बाय पार्ट्स इफ यू आर डूइंग, और बीच में से थोड़ा सा पोर्शन छोड़ दीजिए, दैट कंटिन्यूटी विल बी लॉस्ट। हाँ हाँ हाँ। हाँ, ओके ओके ओके। हाँ 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 हाँ। हाँ हाँ हाँ। हम्म। So they want that you have to put everything together. Okay, so that software is having some point. Otherwise, if your first part is not having plagiarism things and second part is not plagiarism thing, then how it is the combined thing it is having a plagiarism thing? So there is definitely something fishy in that particular software. So they want you to put all the things together only. So better don't go for that particular software. So there are, if you are working in BRC, in BRC is having SIRD division is having a proper software there. You give your work there. So afterwards, in during that time, you get the information that which are the authentic sites. That's why I'm telling na, go to sites which are authentic only. Don't go for any of the sites, because they will take your data. They will take your things. You don't know where your data is going afterwards. So internet is a very means boon also, bane also. Okay, so this much I wanted to share with you today. So try to do ethical use of any software for your research work. Hmm. Yes. You have to see that how many persons can use that particular software, but I think that that should be allowed, because if you are taking on your name, so your friend can use in your name, that much user id password will be there, so you can do that, give the things to your, and your friend can acknowledge you. एक्नोलेजमेंट में तो नाम डाल सकता है ना. So acknowledgement में ये, if that person is telling that I have taken the means some help from other person, so यार acknowledgement भी हो गया and your use भी हो गया. तो पर क्या होता है कि अगर डेटा को अगर एक पर्सन यूज करना है तो डोंट यूज 4 पर्सन. इसमें किसी किसी में रहता है कि इट हैज टू बी यूज्ड बाय ओनली वन एजेंसी और वन पर्सन, and sometimes it can be used by a particular institute or agency. Easier. Otherwise, if it is there for one person only, आपके ही यूज करो, बाकी को एक्नोलेज करने के लिए बोलो. ठीक है. ओके, थैंक यू ऑल.